It started as a routine inspection, a walk through a forgotten maintenance tunnel beneath central London. One broken wall exposed a sealed chamber, still lined with soot-blackened beams and Tudor flooring fragments. As teams swarmed to secure evidence, they found folded papers inked with secret marks and sealed containers laced with mercury. The official story of Tudor London cracked open. If what they have found is real, it could rewrite the rules of who hid what and why. But in this labyrinth, every answer only deepens the next question. A jagged breach in the tunnel wall reveals a darkness that feels untouched by time. The first beam of torchlight sweeps across rough-hewn stone steps, each one worn smooth at the center and dusted with centuries of grime. The air is thick, carrying a sharp tang of earth and something older: charred wood, oil, metal. At the base of the steps, the ground gives way to a patchwork of flooring, some boards warped and blackened by soot, others still showing the geometric inlays favoured in Tudor halls. Overhead, heavy beams stretch from wall to wall, their surfaces blistered and dark. Some are split, exposing pale wood beneath the black, as if the fire that once raged here never quite finished its work. Scattered across the floor, objects lie half buried in dust. A ceramic jar, its glaze cracked and flaking, sits beside a folded scrap of parchment pressed flat by debris. Near the far wall, a small iron box has corroded almost to lace, its hinges frozen shut. Chalk markings, faded and smeared, run along the lower stones, loops and slashes that hint at a code or ritual, their meaning lost for now. Every surface seems layered with residue, wax, soot, and something metallic that catches the light in dull streaks. Dr. Hart steps into view, her gloved hand hovering above a sealed container wedged between two beams. She does not speak, but her eyes widen as she traces the outline of a symbol etched into the wood beside it. The team moves with careful urgency, aware that even a stray breath could disturb evidence preserved for centuries. For a moment, the chamber holds its silence. Every detail demands attention, every object a question waiting to be answered. Hart's voice cuts through the tension, calling for immediate lockdown. The team switches from exploration to containment, moving with practiced precision. Every entrance is sealed, and a single access point is established. A micro-sampling kit appears, sterile vials, tweezers, and a digital scale, all laid out on a clean mat beside the steps. Only milligram quantities are permitted for analysis. Each fragment or residue is carefully weighed and logged before removal. No one touches anything without gloves, and every action is recorded in a chain of custody ledger. A photographic grid is taped across the chamber floor, dividing the space into numbered squares. Each artifact, stain, or fragment is assigned a tag, and its location is marked on a master map. The team's movements slow to a deliberate pace. Every sample is double-bagged, labelled with date, time, and initials. A strict access log is enforced. Only those with signed permits are allowed beyond the cordon, and every entry or exit is time-stamped. Hart oversees the paperwork herself, checking and rechecking each form. She insists on minimal disruption, no scraping, no aggressive cleaning, and no unnecessary handling. The goal is preservation, not haste. Even the air is sampled, with a portable monitor registering background levels of mercury, lead, and organic compounds. Under Hart's direction, the raw discovery is transformed into protected evidence. What began as a frantic search now follows a rhythm of order and documentation, laying the groundwork for every future test and analysis. Paper, wood, and cloth are supposed to crumble with time, yet in certain corners of London's underground, they defy the centuries. Deep below the city, oxygen-starved air and thick layers of earth create a natural vault. Without fresh air moving through, the bacteria and fungi that usually feast on organic matter struggle to survive. Darkness and steady temperatures keep things stable. No wild swings, no sunlight to bleach or rot. In these conditions, even fragile parchment can last for hundreds of years, its ink still visible, its fibres mostly intact. This is not just theory. At Sutton House in Hackney, workers found delicate paper cuttings hidden under floorboards, untouched for over 3 centuries. The sealed space kept out moisture and pests, turning a simple crawl space into a time capsule. Similar finds across London, like quirky toys, handwritten notes, and scraps of clothing, owe their survival to the same accidental chemistry. Dr. Hart gestures to the soot-blackened beams overhead. The wood's surface is scorched, but beneath the char, the grain is preserved, protected from rot by the very fire that once threatened to destroy it. The air in the chamber feels heavy, almost stale, a sign that little has disturbed this pocket for generations. Experts explain that in places like this, even the dust tells a story. Layers settle undisturbed, trapping clues to the past in fine, dry sediment. Preservation like this is rare but not impossible. Each sealed chamber is its own experiment, shaped by luck, disaster, and the slow work of time. The evidence gathered here stands a real chance of speaking across the centuries. Marcus Reed stands over a spread of old architectural plans, his finger tracing a line that simply stops, nowhere near the chamber's actual location. The official schematics, drawn and redrawn across decades, show nothing but solid ground where the tunnel breaks open. Yet the chamber sits here, unmistakably real, its dimensions and angles refusing to match any known corridor or foundation. Reed's brow furrows. He proposes a full, three-dimensional laser scan, the kind used at Court to reveal priest holes hidden in plain sight. The scanner's grid will capture every surface and odd angle, generating a digital model to compare against the city's archive of plans. If the chamber was built to be invisible, any anomaly in the scan might reveal how and why it was concealed. Dating the chamber will take more than blueprints. The team prepares a twin-track strategy. First, radiocarbon analysis. A sliver of blackened beam, smaller than a pencil shaving, is sealed and sent to the lab. Results will take 6 to 12 weeks, but the decay of carbon-14 will place the wood's felling within a human lifetime. Second, dendrochronology. A narrow core is drilled from the heart of a timber, its rings counted and matched to the master sequence for English oak. If the pattern fits, the year the tree was cut could be nailed down to a single season. Meanwhile, microstratigraphy begins at the floor. Layer by layer, tiny samples are lifted from the dust and debris, each one mapped to its exact spot. The order of these layers, char, soot, wax, and soil, will help reconstruct the sequence of events that sealed the chamber off from the world above. The team's timeline is now a puzzle of overlapping clues, each test a step closer to understanding how a chamber could vanish from London's history, only to surface centuries later. Dr. Isabel Cortez steadies the parchment beneath a bank of multispectral lamps. Each wavelength, infrared, ultraviolet, even the faintest blue, pulls out different secrets from the faded ink. On the monitor, what looked like a blank scrap now reveals a ghostly lattice of strokes, some curling with the flourishes of Tudor script, others slashed in odd repeating patterns. Cortez matches the hand against known samples from the 1540s, her eyes narrowing as the cipher's structure comes into focus. The team runs the markings through an algorithm designed for period ciphers, searching for substitutions and keyword traps. Letters begin to surface, a partial phrase, half in code, half in plain English. The words remedy and confess flicker into view, then vanish beneath a string of symbols. Cortez leans in. Her voice is low. Whatever message was hidden here, its meaning is only beginning to surface. Professor Adrian Lowe leans over the preliminary data, tracing the jagged peaks on a gas chromatography mass spectrometry readout. One cluster stands out. Mercury is confirmed by isotope ratios matching 16th century European ore. Another spike points to plant alkaloids, degraded but still recognizable, alongside faint traces of lead-based compounds. Lowe explains that these chemicals in this combination could signal anything from pain management to attempts at countering poisoning. A constant threat in Tudor circles. He ranks the scenarios. First, clandestine worship, where mercury and herbal mixtures played roles in rites. Second, covert medical consultations, using salves and tinctures. Third, deliberate poisoning, with lead or mercury as the agent. Fourth, simple storage, the chamber acting as a forgotten cache. Each possibility sits on a chart, weighted by current evidence, but subject to change. Dr. Hart, reviewing the official paperwork, reminds the team that every action is now under museum oversight. The next steps, full laboratory confirmation and further excavation, will proceed only with strict ethical stewardship. Subscribe for more historical investigations. Beneath London, the ground still hides what history tried to erase. Each new chamber forces us to question what secrets survive beneath our feet and what truths remain buried in plain sight. The past isn't gone, it is waiting to be found. Subscribe for more historical investigations.